wing of Bharatiya Plus Training College. Now today's topic is highly significant. We are going to think about integrated B.Ed course, and the resource person is a real gem of a person who has got hands-on experience in integrated B.Ed program, and we would be discussing on the possibilities and challenges of integrated course. And today's resource person is Dr. Pramod sir. Warm welcome to everyone. Now in this platform around 250 people can join, and this will be telecasted in YouTube as well subsequently. So you may send the brochure and the link to your friends, colleagues and students so that they can also have a clear idea about the new developments that's going to happen in our nation. Warm welcome everyone. Over to you, research scholars.
Thank you, sir. Shall I begin?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. A very warm good afternoon to one and all present over here. Respected Principal, Dr. K.Y. Bandik, sir. Distinguished guest for today's invited talk, Dr. Pramod Dinkar, sir. Research Coordinator, Dr. Jojo John, sir. Honorable dignitaries, teachers, mentors, and dear participants. I, Wincy Biju, on behalf of the research wing of Bharatiya Plus Training College, welcome you all to another vibrant session of Insight in Depth program. Today, we are proudly presenting our 34th talk series. We are trying our best to make our sessions productive to all the participants. Hereby, I assure that today's session is going to be worthwhile. With this assurance, let us begin today's session by seeking the blessings of Almighty God. Pray.
हमें परमात्मा देना, दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना। हमारे ध्यान में आओ, प्रभु आँखों में बस जाओ, अंधेरे दिल में आ करके परम ज्योति जगा देना। ज्ञान की गंगा दिलों में प्रेम का सागर, हमें आपस में मिलजुल कर प्रभु रहना सिखा देना। हमारा धर्म हो सेवा, हमारा धर्म हो सेवा, सदा ईमान हो सेवा, सेवक जन बना देना। वतन के वास्ते जीना, वतन के वास्ते मरना, वतन पर जा फिदा करना, प्रभु हमको सिखा देना। दया कर दान विद्या का हमें परमात्मा देना। दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना। सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शांति शांति शांति।
Now, I invite Mrs. Mika Suresh for the welcome address. Mika,
Thank you, Vinci teacher. Good evening, everyone. Respected principal, distinguished guests, respected teachers of the college, and all those who have joined us from other esteemed institutions, fellow research scholars, and dear teacher trainees. Welcome everyone to another enlightening session of the Insight In-Depth Talk series hosted by Martheophilus Training College, Trivandrum. This is the 34th talk of the series, and today we have Dr. Pramod Dinagar with his insights on the opportunities and challenges of integrated B.Ed programs. With a thankful heart, I welcome Dr. K.Y. Benedict, principal of our college, for his unceasing support, guidance, and for the great leadership. A hearty welcome to you, sir, to this online talk series. I am excited to welcome our speaker for the day, Dr. Pramod Dinagar, Assistant Professor of Education, Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth, deemed to be University Ernakulam. Today, he will be speaking on integrated B.Ed programs, opportunities and challenges. Sir, we are happy to have you at the Insight In-Depth series. On the behalf of everyone online, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
A warm welcome to Dr. Joju John, the research coordinator of Martheophilus Training College. We are thankful to you, sir, for your kind suggestions and timely corrections. Finally, I extend a hearty welcome once again to all those who have joined us online through Google Meet as well as in our live stream via YouTube. Thank you and have a nice day.
thank you, Mrs. Mika, for the welcome address. Now, moving to the next session, I quote, "Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepares for it today." Dear participants, today we have Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir with us, who is going to enlighten us on the topic integrated B.Ed program and its opportunities and challenges. Before that, a brief introduction of our resource person by Mrs. Ambika Robert. Ma'am,
Audible, Anna. Thank you, Vinci. Thank
yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Good evening to all. Respected our principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir, respected research coordinator, Dr. Joju John sir, and all respected research guides. Today's resource person, respected Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir, and dear friends. I am very happy and proud to introduce Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir in our Insight In-Depth Talk Series 34. Topic is integrated B.Ed programs, opportunities and challenges. In this platform, I introduce few words about our today's resource person, Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir, an eminent personality. Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir is Associate Professor of Education and Research Supervisor in Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth Deemed University, Veliyanad in Ernakulam district. He is an educator as well as trainer, having of more than 15 years. He is a resource person in both governmental and private sector like SCRT, SSA, RMSA, Kerala State Literacy Mission, Kudumbashree, etc. As an educator and trainer for over 10 years, he has conducted training sections in medical colleges, engineering colleges, nursing colleges, colleges of teacher education, arts and science colleges, polytechnics, schools, etc. He has conducted so many in-service training for school teachers. A passionate educator, Dr. Dinagar sir is actively involved in various fields of education. He has so many educational qualifications, postdoctoral fellowship, PhD in education, MA in psychology, MA in sociology, Hindi, MA in Hindi, MEd, PG diploma in educational planning, PG diploma in educational administration, PG diploma in Hindi, English translation. Okay, thank you, sir. Once again, I hearty welcome to our talk series. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambika ma'am. With that, we are going to start our session. Few announcements and humble request to all the participants. Kindly mute your microphone and please do not share your screen for an uninterrupted session. Kindly pin our resource person to view his presentation. If you have any query during the presentation, please type them into the chat box. We'll bring them up during the discussion. Link for e-certificate will be provided after the discussion gets over. Kindly fill and share your thoughts and experience to help us to improve. Now, I request Dr. Pramod sir to take the charge. Welcome you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Vincy ma'am and Ambika ma'am for that generous introduction. Before I start, let me just have knowledge about the audience sitting here. Is there anyone who is sitting here who is working or who has worked in an integrated B.Ed degree program or integrated teacher education program? Anybody? If yes, you can type it in the chat box so that it will be easier to generate discussions. During the course of session, it would be good if some discussions are generated, because the presentation will have 4 or 5 different segments. The first segment will be a bit extensive. After that, the segments will be shorter. So in between each segment, if we have a discussion of the things that are discussed, it can break the monotony of a lecture of, extending 40-45 minutes. So I hope your cooperation in this regard also. So without any more introduction, let me share my screen and start my presentation. Yeah. Hope you can start seeing my screen now. Yeah, it's coming. Right. So this particular session is titled Integrated B.Ed Programs, or ITEP, Opportunities and Challenges. This has been a long discussed or a much discussed or much debated area ever since the ITEP regulations came in 2018 and 2019. So all the different aspects of this particular ITEP has already been discussed. However, this presentation is a bit different in that I am presenting it based on my personal experience for 1 year with an integrated B.Ed program. So I am a faculty in an integrated B.Ed program in Kerala, the only one in Kerala which has got the sanction. It's from the Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth deemed university. So we have finished the second semester of the first batch, and we are moving into the third semester, and that will be starting on August 16. And we are having new admissions. The semester 1 will also be starting on August 16. So based on my experience and what I perceived, I am presenting this particular presentation. So there will be some theoretical elements, but most of the things that are discussed here will be based on my empirical findings, or rather my experience. Right. So let's just move it. So this will be the session overview. First, we will have a background on the National Education Policy 2020 and the ITEP regulations. I won't go deep into it because it has been much discussed. Because without discussing this background, we cannot come into the challenges and opportunities of the 4-year integrated B.Ed. Then we will come to the curricular perspective. I will allocate more time for this particular aspect, curriculum. What a 4-year integrated curriculum should be, or what a integrated teacher education curriculum should be, rather than what should be based on the National Education Policy 2020 and the ITEP regulations. Then we will come to the student perspective. Then we will come to the institutional perspective. When we discuss about institutional perspective, it is quite extensive and you can talk on and on, but I will limit my presentation to certain aspects only. And then I will come to the faculty perspective. So this is the overview of my session. So the first part, background. The concept of integrated teacher education programs in India got strengthened in the budget speech by the finance minister, the then finance minister, Union Finance Minister, Sri Arun Jaitley. In his budget speech on February 1, 2019, 18 or 19, he announced that integrated B.Ed programs is the future of teacher training. So, although we have integrated B.Ed programs running across the country, and we have a good model in RIE Mysuru and other centers of NCERT, we didn't have any integrated B.Ed program in Kerala. So after this budget speech by the finance minister, the thoughts on integrated teacher education program got populated among the academic fraternity. And soon we had the NCT regulations on integrated teacher education program 2018, which was revised, and the NCT regulations on integrated teacher education policy 2019 came up. So basically what we stand, from where we stand, we are basically focusing on the NCT regulations on integrated teacher education program 2019. And after that, the National Education Policy 2020 came up. So any program that is run in India on teacher education must cater to the regulations or the guidelines given by these two, the NCT regulations of ITEP 2019 and National Education Policy 2020. Let us just discuss some of the key elements of this National Education Policy. Right. So, no hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular, between vocational and academic streams. This is one key point in the NEP, the crux of which is also coming in the ITEP. Here also the demarcation, broad line demarcation between arts and science, curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular, vocational academic streams are slowly but surely removed. Right. Then professional education will be an integral part of higher education system. Then this is something that is interesting. Establishment of an academic bank of credit. We know about savings banks. Now we are talking about a national academic bank of credit, where credits earned from any particular program can be deposited in the academic bank of credit of that particular student. And I can gain this credit from any institution across the world. For example, I am a psychology student doing BSc Psychology. So I have, say, 85 credits in my BSc program, in my particular, the place where I am studying. But if I have a desire to go abroad and pursue my master's, say, in England, I may require, say, 90 to 120 credits in psychology. Where do I get it? Credit means hours. Credits means actually it is learning hours. So when we translate it into actual hours, it is different for different universities and institutions, but basically it will be around 15 to 20 hours for theory and 30 to 40 hours for practicals. So for in my university, it is 1 credit means if it's theory or tutorial, I mean lecture or tutorial, it is 15 hours. If it's a practical, it is 30 hours. So the UGC gives importance to this LTP, lecture, tutorial, and practicals. For lectures and tutorials, it is 1 credit is equal to 15 hours in our university, and 1 practical is equal to 30 hours. So how much credits we earn by going through a particular program? What I mean by program is what was called courses. I would use the word B.Ed program instead of B.Ed course because that is the terminology that is used these days. So what is course these days? The thing that was mentioned as papers is the courses. So when we discuss programs, it means the thing that was called courses. So when we discuss about courses now these days, it means papers. Hope this is clear. And credit means work hours. So we have, or every student is supposed to have an academic bank of credit where he or she can gain credits from the institution in which he or she is learning and also from any institution across the world. So this is something that's an interesting and that is something that is coming up. We have this academic bank of credits in foreign countries and now we are bringing it to India. And coming to teacher education, 4-year integrated Bachelor of Education is the way forward, and slowly but surely the 2-year B.Ed courses or programs will slowly be removed. So yes, moving forward. So keeping in view the NEP suggestions, what can be the curricular perspective for a B.Ed? And this NEP 2020 also discusses about something called Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Can anybody answer? Industry 4.0? Is anybody there? Can even chat, write in the chat box or even unmute and talk.
So that integrates artificial intelligence into the industrial section.
Yes, Swamiji. Thank you. So what is Industry 1 or Industrial Revolution 1? So we'll just see. So if you have this idea, you will get an idea of what this is. So Industry 1 or I1 means the Industrial Revolution first generation. Mechanization, water, steam, power. This happened in somewhere in the 18th century. Mechanization happened. So that is Industrial Revolution 1. Industrial Revolution 2 is mass production, assembly lines, and electricity. For example, for assembling a car, some 40-50 people will be standing one by one across a table or a moving table, something like that. And this car will pass through all these people and each person will be having a specific task assigned. This is called an assembly line. And assembly lines and electricity led to the mass production. This is Industrial Revolution 2. This happened somewhere in the 19th century. Maybe towards the end of the 19th century. Then coming to the later part of the 20th century, we had digitalization and automation. Machines were doing most of the jobs, were made to do those jobs that are tough for humans. That is digital revolution or Industrial Revolution 3.0. And now from 2011 or 2010, the fourth industrial revolution is started. And as Swamiji said, it is based on artificial intelligence and virtual reality. So it is called a cyber physical system. So NEP suggests that our students should cater to the needs of Industry 4.0. This is very important. And NEP also speaks about institution industry collaboration or education industry collaboration. So now education and industry are no more two different sides of the same coin. They are one and the same, and they have a common meeting point, and they should merge. Only then the progress of education will reach industry faster, and the progress in industry will reach education faster. That is the basic idea. And for each industrial revolution, we have something called as societal development also. So society 5.0 means 5 generations of society development. So what is the first primitive or the first earlier form of society? What was the method in which they gathered food or they got food? That is called society 1. In the primitive societies, what was their food? Any idea?
Just the
Meat, animal meat.
Yes, exactly, sir. It is hunting. So society 1 is a hunting society. Fine. Yes, Swapna, correct. Hunting society. Society 2 means after hunting, what was these people began to stay together and began to cultivate. So that society became an agrarian society. So society 2 is 2.0 is agrarian society. Society 3.0 is industrial society. So society 3.0 starts with the first industrial revolution, that is around 18th century. In the 18th century, somewhere here. And this second industrial revolution also comes under society 3.0. So that is industrial society. And fourth standard of society is information society. Information, that is fourth is information. Not artificial intelligence, information society. Means computers are more into the open, computers come into the perspective. People have started using computers in their daily lives. We use ATM. Even without knowing that it is a computer system, we use ATM. So that is an information society. And we use payment wallets. These are all parts of this information society where we use computers and internet for raising the standards of society. Society 5.0 corroborates with Industrial Revolution 4.0. That is artificial intelligence. And that kind of society is called a smart society. So society 5.0 is smart society, where people are getting smart, machines are getting smart, and people must be smart enough to manage these machines. So hope you got an idea about Industry 4.0 and Society 5.0. So the NEP suggests that the curriculum should meet the standards of Industry 4.0 or Industrial Revolution 4.0. For that, what should be the content? We shall discuss a bit further down. Okay. When we discuss about I 4.0 or Industry 4.0, we must not forget these also. SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Somewhere down the line, people had a feeling that when industry is developing, we are actually harming the earth. So these Sustainable Development Goals, many of these goals are actually trying to find a common meeting point with the growth in industry. See, like this one. Decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, Responsible consumption and production. Yes, at least these 4 or 5 different sustainable developmental goals by the UN cater to the merging or the meeting point of industry and the earth. So the B.Ed curriculum or whatever curriculum that should come from a post NEP era should cater to both these. Industry 4.0, Society 5.0 without forgetting SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So this is the basic idea. Now, what should be the curriculum for Education 4.0 and Teacher 3.0? I know I am making it a bit confused. So we discussed Industry 4.0, Society 5.0, now Education 4.0, and I am mentioning Teacher 3.0. What is Education 4.0 means? Simple. A teacher who is equipped to cater to the Industrial Revolution 4.0. That is called in Education 4.0. Sorry. The education that is equipped to cater to the needs of Industrial Revolution 4.0. And Teacher 3.0 means first generation teacher is the teacher before the internet age. Second generation teacher is the techno-pedagogue. And the third generation teacher is one who uses artificial intelligence. And even in our Martha Forest Training College, we have trainings in robotics and all. So this caters to the Teacher 3.0. So the curriculum for Education 4.0 and Teacher 3.0, that is the futuristic education, it is not that distant future. This future is 2025. By 2025, the Education 4.0 and Teacher 3.0 will be the accepted norm. If you are not upgrading yourselves to that, you will be a misnomer there. Right. Now coming to some other thoughts about curriculum. When we discuss about integrated B.Ed or integrated teacher education programs, we are trying to synthesize 2 different programs. One is the graduation or the undergraduate program and the teacher education program. The undergraduate program is of 3 years duration and the B.Ed program is of 2 years duration. So when we try to merge, we may think that how can we merge 5 years into 4 years? So if it was 5 years, naturally there is more time. So more content can be taught or more content can be transacted, and that may lead to more learning. But actually, is that the case? Does more learning, this is important, does more learning happen with this more time of 5 years and this more content? Let that stay there. But what actually the integrated teacher education program tries to do is less time, less content, but more learning. How is it possible? Less time means we have only 4 years. Less content means naturally, since we are dealing with a 4-year program, it won't have the content as that of a 5-year program. But we are expecting more learning. How does this more learning happen? We'll discuss that. So before coming to that, actually we are not squeezing 2 programs into one. We are not squeezing the BA or BSc with the B.Ed. We are trying to synthesize the discipline areas and the professional content. So it is a process of synthesis rather than squeezing both into a limited space. But the problem is, to develop a curriculum, as of now, we don't have a NCTE curriculum framework available for 4 years. So that is why the 20-odd different institutions that are running 4-year teacher education courses across programs across the country are having somewhat different curriculum. Right. So now coming a bit deeper into the curricular areas. So we have these discipline areas or the BA, BSc areas. This should have the core courses, what was called the general courses, general papers, and the electives, those specializations. And of course, languages. We had the first language and the second language. You might all be knowing that because all of you might have probably been through that 3-year undergraduate program. So you have at least 1 or 2 languages to learn. Then you have the main discipline courses or papers. Then you have the electives. Now, the UGC suggests that there should be something called the ability enhancement courses along with each undergraduate courses. Each undergraduate program must have at least 2 or 3 ability enhancement courses. What is this ability enhancement courses? You know about these finishing schools that try to develop your soft skills. Those skills that are necessary to enter into a profession and excel into a profession. So those kinds of skills are lacking according to lots of studies conducted in India as well as abroad. And these soft skills are lacking, especially in Indian students who go for careers abroad as well as in IT areas or managerial areas. They test these skills and they find that Indian students lack many skills. So that is why the UGC insists that all undergraduate programs must have ability enhancement courses to supplement the core courses, electives, language, and the other courses. Now coming to the professional education, we have something called the perspectives courses. In an integrated teacher education perspective, these are called education studies courses. Exactly, the philosophy, sociology, psychology, all these kinds of courses, ICT, all these things come under these perspectives or educational studies courses. Then we have the pedagogical courses. Means if I am doing a BA, B.Ed in English, then I must be having a course on English pedagogy, English methodology and English pedagogy. So that are the pedagogical courses. So if our institution has 2 different streams, BSc B.Ed Mathematics and BA B.Ed English. So for these perspective courses or the education studies courses, the BA B.Ed and BSc B.Ed students come together. It is like a general class. We used to call them as general class. But for these pedagogic courses, they go to those respective pedagogy teachers. Then, as we know, we have internships, arts, sports, community involvement. This we are all familiar with. Then, if we have this much content, then how does this more learning happen? We discussed about more learning in the previous slide, isn't it? Less content, less time, then how more learning? So this more learning, this is actually a challenge as well as an opportunity. So an institution running a teacher education program has this challenge, which is also an opportunity. How can you make the students learn more? By introducing ability enhancement courses, value-added courses, MOOCs, and of course, encouraging them to gather credits from eminent institutes. So this is the extra add point of integrated teacher education curriculum. These ability enhancement courses, these are not common for all. And we have something called this choice-based credit system, where if we have 20 students in a class, each student will have a different mark script or a transcript of mark, because that particular student or each particular student will be taking a different ability enhancement course. So there would be a basket of ability enhancement courses from which the student has a choice to select. Of course, he may be asked to select at least 1 or 2. So if we have a basket of 10, then a particular student, say Pramod, can choose, say I will go for a leadership course, and maybe I will go for emotional intelligence course. I think this will help to enrich my abilities. And in our university, we call these courses as minor courses. Since it is a university, we have other departments, and all departments offer these courses, and people across the departments are free to join these courses. So this is something that can be done for more learning, ability enhancement courses, apart from the original curriculum. Then, of course, value-added courses. Extra, those courses that gives that cutting edge or value addition. To give you an example, if my institution ties up with Google Educator, or for that matter, Microsoft Learn. Hope you are aware of these things. Google Educator, Microsoft Learn, etc. These are all high-end industrial advancements in education or technology-supported educational enterprises. We collaborate and they offer a value-added course. It is not compulsory. If a particular student is interested, he or she can join. And by enrolling in that course and going through that course, this particular student will enhance his or her competency in that particular field, and that will give a cutting edge. So the decision is done by the particular student. So it is not teaching, but it is making the students learn and grasp more. And I discussed about academic bank of credit, and we can use this very well. For example, some Coursera, there is some course in a Coursera, MOOC platform called Coursera or edX or Udemy, which has credits. And say University of London is offering some course, which is a credited course. But you need to pay. Say two of my students, they feel that we should take it. And that's related to teaching. Of course, they can take it and it will be beneficial for them. So this is the way a modern teacher educator or a modern student should think. Not standing in between the four walls or within the four walls of the institution. It is going out. And of course, we know MOOCs. There are a lot of Swayam courses also. Students can join Swayam courses. Okay, so this is how more learning happens. So learning has an intrinsic motivation, whereas teaching is more or less like an extrinsic thing. Right. Now, when we discuss about curriculum, this is one article that came in the Times of India on March 5. This clearly demarcates what should be our focus based on the national education policy. Soft skills need to be fostered. That is one thing. Teaching students to celebrate failure and bounce back from failure, resilience, develop resilience. Fostering of soft skills, development of attitude to accept failure and bounce back from it. Exploring developing technologies. This is very important. Each and every day, new technologies are being developed, and the teacher is expected to keep abreast with that. And bringing experiential learning. This we all know, we have been doing that. So these are the four things that should be focused based on this particular article. Soft skills, resilience and celebrating future failure or accepting failure, developing technologies, exploring it, and bringing experiential learning. So a B.Ed curriculum for the integrated 4-year should have all these. But it is not mentioning of soft skills or mentioning of the word resilience that will serve the purpose. Only if we have an experiential learning to internalize these soft skills as well as resilience as well as developing technologies, then only the curriculum can be termed effective. Right. Now, this is an article from the LinkedIn, and the article title is Soft Skills for 2021. The author is Jennifer Lampard. And in her article, in this particular article, she suggests 3 top areas of missing soft skills. This is important, missing soft skills. After a candidate is conducted an interview, after the interview, if the candidate is rejected, if you analyze the reasons and a database is prepared based on these reasons. The top 3 areas of missing soft skills for candidates in higher education is, first bucket is problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, and creativity. Ability to deal with complexity and ambiguity, and communication. So these are the 3 missing soft skills in candidates across the world, not only in India, across the world. These problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, and creativity, and of course, ability to deal with complexity and ambiguity, and communication. Communication involves verbal communication as well as non-verbal communication, right? Taking it further, LinkedIn also suggests 5 top soft skills of 2020. This suggests that each year the soft skills will change. Maybe if we prepare a curriculum now based on these top 5 soft skills, maybe in 2024, when these students are passing out of this particular program, these soft skills may be out of date. So there needs to be an upgradation or updation in the skill set. This is very important, and the students need to be equipped with that. So let us just see the 5 top soft skills of 2020. Creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. So mentioning of emotional intelligence as a curricular area in the psychology part won't do the job. Experiential learning. This is the biggest challenge when developing a curriculum for integrated B.Ed. That too, those students who are coming to join this particular program at 17 or 18 years of age. So you are catching them young, and you can make them good teachers and good citizens. So actually when they join early, you have the chance to actually groom them. So how can these skills be imbibed? So basically by exploratory and experiential skill training through value-added courses or add-on courses, right? Yeah, this is the source from which this gets taken. The article is by Bruce M. Anderson. Right. Now, according to monster.com, which is a job site, the key soft skills for success are communication, teamwork, adaptability, problem solving, critical observation, conflict resolution, leadership. Yeah. As discussed earlier, all these are mentioned in the present curriculum for B.Ed at the 2-year stage. But when we move to a 4-year, this has to be made something dynamic. It is not just words of communication or words like teamwork that won't do the matter. Right. Now, coming to the B.Ed component in a curriculum, teacher education curriculum. It is like an inverted pyramid. So this is year 1. You have very little component for the professional education part. This is year 2, bit more. Year 3, bit more. At the end of 4th year, you have the maximum component in teacher education. This is called an inverted pyramid style. So for our university, we have the education component in the 2nd semester. That is philosophy and sociology. That particular course is introduced in the 2nd semester. In the 1st semester, they don't have any B.Ed component at all. The only thing that they will be studying is the discipline part. So it comes in the 2nd semester. 3rd semester, they have bit more. 4th, bit more. 5th, bit more. 6th, bit more. 7th, full time they have internship. And 8th, they have both the discipline component as well as the education component. This inverted pyramid is like a loan. When you take any type of a loan, vehicle loan or house loan or whatever kind of loan, whatever payment that you are making at the start, the more amount from that EMI, say you are paying some 10,000 rupees per month towards a home loan. Of that, in the first month, you may be paying something like 9,200 rupees towards interest and 800 towards the principal amount. But when the loan period goes on, say after 3 or 4 years, it happens like more principal amount is taken. Similarly, B.Ed component, it goes on like an inverted pyramid, just like an equated monthly installment, right? And there are some curricular concerns also. Actually, we are trying to synthesize both the discipline aspect as well as the education aspect. Then sports, arts, theater, community involvement, and many such things related to the B.Ed curriculum. How can we actually include in the B.Ed curriculum or in the integrated teacher education curriculum? Right. I think any discussions based on the presentation till now? I have presented almost 60% of my presentation. So if you have any discussions or any clarifications, or if you want to put across some ideas, you are free to do that. That will break the monotony. Or else I will sleep and you also will sleep. Yeah. So please, I would like at least 1 or 2 of you to put across your ideas. Need not be a question.
What's the percentage weightage between the subsequent specialization plus
Yes.
teacher education along with the minor courses?
Yes. In each teacher education course, teacher education program across India that is happening, each one is following a different pattern. In our university, we follow something like a 53% weightage for the discipline content or the B.Ed component, and 47% for the B.Ed component. BSc and BA component or the discipline component is 53% and 47% for the B.Ed component. And in this 53 from the discipline part, we have this language courses also. But we give more, the education component gives more emphasis on this ability enhancement courses, minor courses. So as of now, physical education, we have one course in the semester 3. But in other semesters, we don't have the time to have a regular physical education, yoga and health education course. But we do have something called a 0 credit yoga practice across the semesters. So that will be a 0 credit yoga practice only, but a course dedicated on sports will be coming only in the 3rd semester. Apart from that, the students are expected to organize or take key role in organizing the sports competition of the university. And we have a lot of students, so actually the students will get an opportunity in that. Similarly, the arts component, actually we didn't have an opportunity or a window to introduce art. So what we did is, we have planned a series of workshops on Saturdays, at least one Saturday per month, as arts, arts enhancement programs. It won't have a credit as such, but it will add to the practical component. So it is not actually put in the curricular document, but it is written as an art working day workshop. Art workshops. These art workshops, it will be of different streams like puppetry, theater, then even what all we do these days, music, plays, etc. So at least these will happen in semester 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we are planning for 3, 4, 5, and 6, but we have a plan of just limiting it to 3, 4, and 5. Because in the 6th semester, we will be focusing on what we should do in the 7th semester internship. So this is the basic idea. So the arts doesn't have a credit weightage as of now, but sports has, it is a 3 credit course, sports. So this is the basic breakup. Is it clear, sir?
Yes, sir. One more point to be clear is regarding the qualification of faculty members, whether they are also, all of them are interdisciplinary, or is there any watermarking between the subject specialist and the pedagogy specialist?
Yes, I would have come to that when we discuss about faculty, but since you have raised the question now, I would now present it. I will just let me present the curricular document, I mean the ITEP regulation. I will tell what it mentions and what it practically means. So just let me present that. So it is a bit more clear. I think it is, yeah, it's coming. So I'll just zoom it a bit. Okay, this is too much. So we are expected to have a professor or an associate professor who is the head of the department. And that person should have a MEd or a PhD, MEd and a PhD in education. So that is necessary. But when we come to assistant professor, those who are dealing with the subjects, discipline subjects, BA or BSc subjects, they need not have MEd at all. MEd is desirable only. See, assistant professor in liberal discipline and pedagogy, it is written MEd or MEd with specialization in elementary education. It is like a desirable thing only. And PhD is also desirable. But here, assistant professor in educational studies or the perspectives of education, that person must have a postgraduate degree in education with minimum 55 MEd with minimum 55%, then national eligibility test. Then at the present moment, it is desirable only master's degree in psychology, philosophy or sociology. However, the NCT will insist on psychology, philosophy or sociology subject, at least in one of the faculty members who is who is meant for this educational studies. Actually, so let me stop my presentation. So this is the basic idea. So the faculty members means you require only 3 faculty members who are having an MEd. 2 for the perspectives of education or the education studies, and 1 for the specific pedagogy part. Other than that, for those teachers who are teaching the subject English or mathematics, you just need a post-graduation. MEd for them is a desirable qualification only. So this is the idea. Is it clear, sir?
Yes, along with that, yes, clear. Along with that, is there any difference in pay package and remuneration with respect to these difference in qualification among the same department?
No difference in the pay package. It is like UGC norms. It is just like a UGC norms for entry level, that 10, 11, 12, pay band 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Then you have associate. Same package is there for both the streams. There is no difference for people who are having a higher qualification. However, if you want to become an associate professor, you must have PhD. And to become a HOD in the Department of Education, you must have a PhD in education. So that is the criteria. Is it okay, sir?
Okay.
Right. Thank you, sir. So now let me move on. Now coming to the student perspective. The students are professionally qualified at 21 years of age. For them, a year saved is more than an year gained, because completing UG and B.Ed in 4 years is a real gain of 1 year. So actually you are saving 1 year, that is a real gain, but there is also a virtual gain. When we think about the potential for earning in that extra year and the expenses for learning, that includes fee, accommodation, transport, etc., that all will add to the virtual gain. So when we take this virtual gain also, for a student, the actual gain is real gain of 1 year plus virtual gain. That means for a student who is joining the integrated B.Ed program to become a teacher, it is more than a year saved. Right. Then the student has the chance to learn the discipline and the teacher training for 4 years. So actually you are having a scenario where you are learning, say, English or mathematics in our case for 4 years. Similarly, you are in the process of teacher training for 4 years. So that will be beneficial. So you get more time to take the discipline into your system, to internalize the discipline. And of course, you get more time to imbibe the skills and competencies required for teaching. So in these 4 years, you become a better learner in your discipline as well as chances for becoming a better teacher, because the training period is bit larger. 4 years as you are having students and you are actually grooming them. So it helps the students a lot. Then they have option for 2 post graduations or other higher education options. When students come to for 2-year B.Ed, almost they have their other options exhausted. That is why many people turn to B.Ed. But actually these students who turn to the integrated B.Ed program, they are more genuinely interested, and that is clear in their attitude. So it is not like somebody is imposing this particular program on them. They are also motivated. Maybe they will get into the groove maybe in, say, 1 semester or so. So when the education courses start, they are slowly in the groove. And we had a doubt actually when we were discussing about how to introduce philosophy and sociology, which are basically dry subjects for many students and are a bit abstract. However, we had this process of discussions on trivial matters, discussions on serious matters, and these thoughts for the day, something like that. I mean, thoughts for the week. From that, starting from the first semester itself. By the end of the first semester and when the second semester started, these students whom we thought that were a bit immature were actually having a good enough idea on what is happening around them. So that is what training can do to them. And these students have other options, higher education options also, other than the option of 2 PGs. PGs like MEd or MA or MSc, they have other higher education options also, if they feel that they have to go further. Even those who are going for, civil service. This year, we have had an interview of a student who is from Ranchi. She is coming here just to get a training and she wants to become an IAS officer. So she feels that by doing a teacher education course, she will have that extra sense of community service in her. That is her thought. So actually we have, students have much more higher education options than the 2 post-graduations. Then, of course, higher education options, apart from that, there are more career options also than just teaching at the school level. Even they can go for a PG, they can clear the NET and go to a college and become better faculty in colleges than those without a B.Ed or teaching degree. Then, of course, due to the training that we mentioned earlier, holistic development of personality to become a new gen teacher. So when we incorporate these developing technologies as add-on courses and we train them for, say, 4 years, the holistic development of a personality is happening and they become a new gen teacher who has the mindset of a student. Right. Now the challenges for the students. Making a career choice teaching soon after +2. Teaching is not a natural career choice after +2 because we had, the first choices would be like going to a medical field or being a scientist, or the engineering thing has come down, has diminished. The interest for engineering has diminished. So this making a career choice soon after +2 that in teaching is bit complicated, and sometimes they may have to revolt with their parents also. Their parents may say that why go for a teaching post as of now. But if the standard of teaching and the standard of the teacher education courses enhances, this can soon change, right? Then student life may be curtailed a bit. This is bit interesting. It is like an adolescent situation, not an adolescent-like situation. Like you are no longer a student and you are no longer a teacher. When you behave like a student, there is a possibility that these particular students may be asked, you are training to become a teacher. Is this the way to behave? And if they are behaving like a teacher, they may say, why are you like overacting? So it is like an adolescent-like situation. So the actual student life, or the happy-go-lucky kind of life that a student life is associated with, that may be curtailed a bit. And being in a new terrain that they don't have much reference, the people who are joining this BA, B.Ed or BSc, B.Ed now, they don't have reference. They don't have other people to refer as how this particular program is all about. So this is a bit challenging for them. Now coming to the institutional. This I will move a bit fast because all of these are more or less discussed more and more extensively. Now first let us start with the opportunities. Decline of the interest in engineering program has led to somewhat increase in interest in teaching. This is reflected in the admissions. And the NEP 2020 suggestion of the gradual termination of 2-year programs and 4-year integrated B.Ed program being the basic qualification for teaching posts in the near future will attract actually students. And of course, catching a teacher young and developing competencies, that is something the institution can do better. So if we have 4 years, we can actually groom and mold a good teacher. Then we will get genuinely interested students. Most of the students will be genuinely interested and they will be self-motivated to such an extent that their competency level will be enhancing by the end of each semester. And we had 2 students at the beginning of the first sem where we thought that they were not that competent, but they picked up very drastically. But at the end of the second semester, we find that they are almost at par with the other students in terms of their social competencies and their teaching learning competencies. So this is what happens when people who are genuinely interested in teaching come to this particular program. And coming to the institutional challenges, yeah, we discussed about this. Teacher is not a natural career profession option for +2 students and their parents. So especially in Kerala, people may be reluctant for at least the first 3 or 4 years to come to this particular teacher education program. Then there comes this question: students joining at 17 or 18 years, are they mature enough to pursue education? I will give the answer as, if a student at 17 or 18 years is mature enough to take the career of being a doctor, then they definitely are mature enough to pursue education. And based on my experiences, I can vouch on that. Right. Yeah, concept of integrated B.Ed is something that is new and may take time to get acceptance. As we had with the 2-year B.Ed, after the 1-year B.Ed programs were terminated and 2 years were made compulsory, we had some drop in the student levels. But the last 2 or 3 years, we find that we have a situation where good students are not even getting admissions. So for 4 or 5 years, it will take a bit of a time to get acquainted, or the people to get familiar with the concept of integrated B.Ed. And also in an institutional level, it may take time to become financially viable. Maybe in the first 3 or 4 years, we may not get good numbers. And parents may be apprehensive about the equivalency of the programs, especially at the discipline level. B.Ed, they are okay, but they will feel that, will my student who is doing this BA B.Ed, this BA part, will it have an equivalency with the BA of other universities. But that is not a big deal, because in our university, the codes or the codes outlines are devised in such a way that it has at least 80% equivalency with all the different major universities in Kerala and of course outside, both with the discipline content as well as the education part. And for example, if they, and another thing is that when you open the PSC site, you may not find a qualification called BSc B.Ed or BA B.Ed at the present level. So they feel that will they get job? But with the national education policy, it is at a matter of time before this particular qualification also comes into it. Right. So this apprehension is there. So that may lead to having institutions having lesser number of admissions, maybe in the first 2 or 3 years. Then, yeah, this is the thing that is most debated or discussed. Teacher education will be just a department in a composite institution. No more full autonomy for the Department of Education. The students, the B.Ed students, are not our own students. They are the students of the discipline as well. So we don't have full charge on them. And we are just a department. So this has to settle down, because we will be having other departments, say Department of English, Department of Mathematics, or whatever subjects that you have in your particular institution. But the head of this particular institution will be a person who is having a PhD in education. That will be the only thing. Not the head of the education institution, the head of the department. The head of the institution can be a different person. We can have a scenario where we have a different principal and a different head of department. Right. So it's a composite institution, and teacher education or education is just a department. And even the program directors or coordinators, program coordinators may be from the discipline area. In our university, the program coordinators, both the coordinators for English as well as math, is from the BSc and BA part. Although we are in charge of the education part. So we do have an equal bite at the cherry, but we are not the sole custodians of these students. Yes. Now, this is something that is very tricky. When you have an integrated B.Ed, you have multiple statutory bodies to deal with. And the norms of these statutory bodies may sometimes be different. For example, the UGC wants schools. Schools means the head of, the faculty. Each discipline should be called a school. Say, School of Education. But NCT says that it should be a department and there should be a head of department. So this is, I just gave an example. UGC wants school, whereas NCT wants head of department. So this is something that, because the same thing, you will have to send in different ways to these different statutory bodies to get their sanction and approval. So this is something that is a headache for the registrar or the administrative team. Yes, then the integrated teacher education program is to be located in a multi and interdisciplinary academic environment. So if we are just having a B.Ed college and it doesn't have an interdisciplinary academic environment, we won't get a sanction. So we need to have something that is a different discipline to that of education. Not having an M.Ed won't be a criteria that will help you get a integrated B.Ed. You may need to have something that is quite different from the discipline. So this is something that's a problem for many institutions, and this is a problem that is that will be affecting most of the unaided institutions. Yeah, now coming to the duration, just mention these things. Here, see, 125 working days. In a semester, there shall be at least 125 working days, excluding the period of admissions, but including the period of examinations. That means that if you take the examination part away, if it's considered that there are 10 days earmarked for examination, 115 working days ensuring 115 working days in a semester is bit tough. It is not bit tough, it is very difficult. Then, see, the total working hours shall be a minimum of 40 hours per hour 1 week. Working 40 hours means 8 hours a day into 5 days. Now, university, we have a 6-day week. So we don't have a problem with the 40 hours, but we find it difficult to manage this 125 working days. So the education department alone will need to work in the semester break. All the others will be having vacation for 60 days, but the education department or the people associated with the education course will be required to work for more, maybe at least 2 or 3 weeks more. So this is something that's a bit of a problem. Then that's regard to duration. Then coming to the faculty perspective, this is the last part of my presentation, and I mentioned this earlier when I answered a query from Benedict sir. Only 2 or 3 faculty members for educational studies with PG in social sciences and 1 pedagogy faculty with MEd and PG in each sanctioned subject will only be required. That means those with MEd and NET, your demand is going down if the same norms are continuing. And there will be workload management, especially in the first 2 years of the start of the program. Say, I had this problem. I was working in the first semester, I didn't have any course at all, educational course. But the UGC expects me to take as an assistant professor 16 hours. But I managed to take elective courses from other subjects. We have psychology department there. Since I have a PG in psychology and a NET in psychology, I took one of the courses for them, research methodology course, and I got 4 credits for that. Then I took 2 ability enhancement courses, minor courses. So in this way, I could manage it because it was a composite institution and it was a university. But if it's an affiliated college, the workload management, especially in the first 2 years of the start of the program, will be very difficult. And the finance department will be raising or pointing fingers on this particular aspect. And educational qualifications prescribed are not in favor of those having MEd. This is the biggest challenge. So, but here comes an opportunity. More opportunities for teacher educators with NET and discipline subject as well as education. So if you have a PG, take a NET in the subject where you have a PG. That will enrich your possibility of getting selected to a teacher education program. Yes, so this is all I have with regard to my presentation. So we can have some questions and clarifications. And of course, I would like some of you to even share your experiences and even ideas. That would be good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the highly significant and informative session. Also for providing the comprehensive presentation on integrated B.Ed program. This valuable session has helped the young generation to explore and get ideas about the new career opportunities available and to overcome the challenges in today's competitive world. I believe this session will be benefiting to many of us as we all are from the same fraternity. Now, with that, the floor is open for discussion. Participants are requested to raise their queries.
Good evening to one and all. I'm Dr. Nimmi, Assistant Professor, Titus II Teachers College, Tiruvalla. First and foremost, let me congratulate Dr. Pramod Dinagar sir for making such an extensive presentation of this item. My one query is a little bit about the future of this. That is, after pursuing this B.Ed program, I mean the students of this ITEP, which all degrees like PG they can go for? From your side, what all the opportunities are available for them with respect to higher education, I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Nimi ma'am. As I discussed it through my presentation, naturally they can have two post graduations. One is in the discipline area and in the other, I mean, the B.Ed area. So they can take a MA or MSc and MEd. This is the natural post graduation. But other than that, for example, a student has taken BA B.Ed, but this student wants to pursue psychology, can definitely go for a PG in psychology also. Just like what we have the rules as of now, they can go for some other careers, maybe in business field, or just like I mentioned in civil service or whatever. So basically it is like you are open. It is just like a graduate degree. Actually, we did not put it as a teacher education professional degree. It is just like an enriched graduate degree with a add-on teacher education degree. So you get 2 degrees. You get 1 degree with the power of 2. You get a BA, BSc as well as a B.Ed. So that is the prime attracting point for the students. So after that, any option in front of a graduate student is open for these ITEP students as well.
Now,
Sir,
another question, what about the temporary status of ITEP in India throughout? In Kerala, we know the situation.
Yes. In South India, we have this Regional Institute of Education, Mysuru, which has been running these ITEP courses for at least, say, 20-25 years.
Yes,
And they have been running it successfully. They have 3 options. I mean, multiple, multiple degree options: physics, chemistry, bio, and social science, English, and something like that. So you get 3 mains, triple main. That is it. That is called a triple main B.Ed, BA B.Ed, and BSc B.Ed they have. And the students from those are getting selected in institutes across India. If you have a candidate who has passed from RIE and a candidate who has passed from a 2-year B.Ed college in Karnataka, the preference will be given for a RIE candidate because they get 4 years and the training is intense. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sir,
Dr. Samad.
New Education Policy 2020 proposes a concept of multiple entry and exit for the graduate students in integrated program. For example, 1 year complete and they can exit with a certificate, certificate as a certificate course, 2 year as a diploma course, 3 year as a degree course, like that.
Yeah.
Is that is being planned in the course that is being conducted by your university, or it
Yes.
is?
Yeah, I will answer it. Yeah, we had a consideration on that, and sat for some 3 or 4 different sessions thinking on this or contemplating on this. But there is a bit of a problem. Entry is okay, but where to give this exit? And even we thought about having something like, if the student exits at year 1, what can we give them? We can't give anything in teaching because they have gone through only 1 course. So maybe a certificate in, say, mathematics or certificate in English. And second stage, what will we give? We can't call it a diploma because teaching, the student will have gone through some 3 or 4 courses only. The discipline specific courses are all not even evenly done, because the most important courses for the discipline will be coming later. So naturally, it is difficult to give a diploma at the end of 2nd year. And we thought of, say, having at the end of 3rd year, giving a graduate degree plus a certificate in teaching. That is an idea that we are standing now. but we didn't have a thorough consensus on that. And the Board of Studies is meeting again to discuss on this because there are a lot of different aspects as to how to weigh these credits and how to give them a certification for the credits they have done. And there is also a thought of giving them options, giving the students an option to take specific courses. Say, for example, if they take a course from semester 5 also, then they can be given a certificate or they can be given a diploma. Thoughts in that direction are also going, but it is not conclusive.
Thank you, Dr. Pramod sir,
Excuse
for
me,
your
sir.
outstanding.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question on that. As you said that in the 5th SEM, you are planning to give a certificate in teaching along with the degree. So what is the scope of such a certificate in teaching? Like, what is that going to do? Like, or how is it beneficial for the candidate?
Yeah. Basic, if I didn't say 5th semester, at the end of 6th semester, say at the end of semester 6, end of 3 years, we may, it is not finalized, we may plan of giving a degree plus a certificate. However, this certificate may not be of much use. They can actually take the credits, and with these credits, with the transcript of these credits and the certificate, they can go to some other institution in India or abroad and do the remaining courses, and they can collect these credits to their academic credit bank. Is it clear?
Okay, thank you.
Basically, on a professional line, it won't be of much help because a certificate in education won't give you anything. Yeah.
Hello, Pramod sir. Congrats for your outstanding talk. It was really great to listen to you. You have elaborately explained all the things. I would like to ask one thing. Now, what is the speed of implementation of the integrated training program? With the national policy, it is said that with 2030, there will be integrated courses only. Now, so what about the implementation? Is it going fast, or what are the, so some of the institutions like yours have already started, but what is the future of this?
Yes.
How far will it be implemented throughout?
Yeah, other states have already started, but for some reason, NCT has stopped accepting applications from Kerala, and they have not been giving sanctions at all since 2019. And we got the initial sanction in 2019. After that, they are not even considering an applications. Even this year, I came to know that they are not considering, maybe because there is some technical problem. I'm not sure about that. Somebody who is in NCT will be in a better position to answer that. But as far as other states are concerned, the process of 4-year integrated B.Ed program replacing the 2-year one is going on at a fast rate. But for some reason, and maybe people in the Higher Education Council, they may be in a better position to answer that because they are in touch with the NCT and even the deans of the various departments. So they will be better answering that. But however, with regard to other states, they are fast implementing it. And
it is learned that NCT will reopen only in 2022 only due to the difficulties that we are facing due to this COVID pandemic. Otherwise,
Yes.
they thought to restart that the window to be open in 2021 itself.
Yeah, that's what I heard from an unofficial source. But since it's an unofficial source, I could not.
There was a public notice for that.
Yeah, okay, then it's fine. So that's why I didn't comment on that. I came to know from one of my friends, so it is not an official source. Yeah.
Sir, out of curiosity, I have to raise a question. Who is the national, the immediate competitor for your university at the national level in this integrated teacher education program?
National level, we don't know. In the immediate vicinity, we have RIE Mysore only. National level, we have lots of private universities like Amity, Lovely, all these are offering integrated B.Ed. But we are more or less trying to follow the RIE pattern. So ours and theirs will be not in a competition, we are moving together maybe. But there is one difference also. We are focused on a single pedagogy, means one subject only, single subject, English only. Whereas they give a multi-main BA. And we have only BSc mathematics, and whereas they give physics, chemistry, and math, something like that. So that is the difference. There is a difference also.
So you have got B.Ed English and maths only there.
Yes. And another problem is when the NCT gives, they give 50 seats. So that is the problem. So we want only 20 seats. Please give us more subjects. They won't give. They will give only 2 subjects at a time. And if these are functioning well, after 1-2 years only we can apply for the next one. So we have applied for 3. We got only 2. So 2 means 50 for mathematics and 50 for English. That is how the NCT gives sanctions.
So when it is practiced, when it is implemented, there is high probability that in many training colleges, some of the training colleges will have to opt for some subjects. They won't be able to have all the subjects.
What will happen is when the training colleges opt for these subjects, most of them will opt for the common subjects like English. And after a time, you will be having many institutions offering English, and the demand for English won't be there. So you will have this 50 seats will be allotted, and sometimes you may be able to fill some 10 or 15 only. So that is something that's the problem. Yeah, I think I had a question here. What about commerce? There is something called BCom B.Ed, but that is not yet, rolled out. Even by NCT, they have not given sanction. But in the original set of subjects, they have a plan for introducing something called a BCom B.Ed.
Dr. Pramod, I would like to ask one more thing. Actually, those students who are doing 3-year BA or BSc courses, and if they think they need training in teacher education, so we have to offer them B.Ed course also. They should also be catered to. That means there will be 2 parallel systems of B.Ed in future.
Yes, I feel so, because I feel that I think I have heard somewhere that the process of the ending of 2-year won't be a complete termination. There will be some nodal institutions, say 1 or 2 in a district, which will have the 2-year B.Ed also. But however, the NCT is offering a new program. It is called the integrated B.Ed M.Ed for those who have completed degree. It's a 3-year program. So in 3 years, you will be able to finish the B.Ed as well as the M.Ed. So those who have completed the B.Ed, the graduation can join that.
Then there is a problem if a person goes for integrated B.Ed and that particular person wants an M.Ed, what would we do?
Yeah, these are the different problems, and it will churn out one day. But these days we have a lot of confusions, and they don't mention about stopping of M.Ed courses as of now. They have suggested that the 2-year B.Ed courses will only be stopped. They have not suggested that the M.Ed courses programs will stop as of now. But there needs to be discussions at the higher level, and these things to be taken at the right level, and something fruitful, something concrete should be turned out, or else maybe in 1 or 2 years it will be a lot of confusion.
Excuse me, sir. I have one more question on that. As Jojo sir mentioned, that is, if the degree is in sciences, where equal importance should be given on the practical side as well. So, how effective it would be if it is an integrated program where we need a practical expertise in the teaching aspect as well as for the degree, that is the practical aspect of the core subject. So, how it will be integrated? And is it
Yes.
like it will be too much of things in a short period of time?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, to get the sanction for those subjects which require practicals like physics, chemistry, biology, botany, zoology, you need to have a full equipped lab, and they will, when they come for visit, they will be checking this, and you must have specific faculty or staff for that purpose. So that is why the graduation part or the discipline part will be functioning as such. And I told you that education will be a department. We need not think in terms of an education institution having a chemistry department or a biology department. It is the other way around. It is an institution, composite institutions, where we have both a department of physics, department of chemistry, and education department. Just like the arts and science colleges function. So this will be functioning together, and we will get sanction only if we have the full laboratory facilities. And we are expected to have at least 70% equivalency with the natural BSc courses without compromising on the practical element. Hope I answered you.
And we need a national curriculum framework for integrated BA Ed, BSc Ed, BCom Ed, and all those courses.
Yes, and I
That's
feel
also
that
a must.
it is on the way. I came to know that, somebody suggested that it is due, and it may be coming in the next 1 or 2 years. Because of this pandemic, it is getting delayed, or else it would have been launched by 2021, 22 something. So they are in the process of developing one NCT. How it will be, I don't know. Because if it's a common one, yeah.
NCT has already constituted a working group for framing the model curriculum for the integrated teacher education program within 10 to 12 months of time. By the time it will reopen the application procedure in 2020, it will be ready.
Yes.
So it's a policy change, It's a national policy change to wind up the standalone courses and move to the integrated courses. That's a policy matter. Teacher education alone could not be an exemption to this.
Yes, that's the whole idea behind it. I have a question from Nitya. After completing BSc Mathematics, BSc Mathematics B.Ed, can that person join MSc Physics or Chemistry? Of course, they can join MSc or Physics or Chemistry, provided you study that particular subject at that BSc level.
Good evening, Ramesh.
Yes.
Thank you for such a great presentation, sir. Let me ask one doubt, sir. You said that there is a course B.Ed plus M.Ed, 3-year course. For M.Ed, we have to complete our PG in any particular subject. After that, only we can go for M.Ed, no, sir? Then how is it possible, sir?
It was the case earlier, but these days, even if you don't have a PG, if you have a B.Ed, you can directly go for M.Ed. But if you want to teach in a training college, you need to have a PG. Is it clear?
Thank you.
Because earlier, in Kerala University, it was insisted that Kerala University used to insist that only if you have a PG, you would be admitted for M.Ed. But in MG University, even those without PG could join M.Ed. But now it is that any person with a B.Ed can join.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Sapna.
Okay, that's great. Shall we move towards the concluding part?
Yes, sir. Shall I raise a query, sir?
Yes.
So, Vinci Biju here. I
Yeah.
just want to know, as you said, there's a possibility of integrating the BCom and BEd degree. So what is the scope for that? Because commerce is something which has been taught at +2 level. And for that, you need to have post-graduation. So
Yes.
what is the possibility, sir? What scope, sir?
Yes, that is why this particular confusion came, because what should be the scope for a BCom BEd, and I also raised the same question, because to start an MCom, to start a commerce BEd, you require PG, because you need to teach in there. So that is why they are a bit confused with the BCom BEd, and they may think about something called MCom BEd. And even our RIE Mysuru has something called MA BEd, MA BEd also. So these are different points of contention, and these are being addressed hopefully soon.
Hello, Pramod sir.
Yes.
There are two queries in the chat box. One is, are there opportunities for current BEd students with PG?
Of course, they are.
They are a lucky lot, actually.
Yes,
they are a lucky lot. They are a lucky lot. They have all the
You need
opportunities.
not worry at all. Till 2030, you need not worry at all. You just pass set, get whatever it is, CET, SET, whatever, and you will be getting a lot of opportunities to get into the system. So the present BEd students need not worry at all. And even those students till 2027, 28 or 2030 need not worry.
And one more query, sir. Does that curtail the future possibilities of existing student community who have got degree or PG in core subject plus education degree or PG?
Yes, it does. It does. That is why at some point, bodies in education or NGOs in education or even academic fraternity should raise this voice and should make MEd a mandatory, qualification for any teacher who is teaching in an integrated. So we can think on those lines if, and there are a lot of teacher education organizations, and they should take up this matter sooner than later.
But then, sir, your university is not insisting on MEd.
It is not my university. It is.
I mean, the one in my university.
Insisting, and in my university there is nobody. All those who are taken for education are with MEd.
Sir, I have one observation.
Yes, sir.
Sir, myself, Mr. Ganesh Chandra Naik from Goa.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. From my experience, I can say that this integrated BEd program, they are not really integrated. They are just parallel BEd program, offering 2 degrees simultaneously in a parallel program. The way they are organizing their syllabus, the way they are organizing the departments, the way they are recruiting the teachers, the way different apex bodies are monitoring their activities. Okay, they are actually not really integrated. They are offering 2 programs, but simultaneously. This is my perception. Okay, and as you just suggested now that all the teachers teaching in an integrated program must have MEd. This is a welcome suggestion. So that every teacher who is teaching in an integrated college, they have some background of teacher education things. At present, what is happening? The BSc teacher, the BA teacher, they think that arts is the main program and BEd is the tail program. They are telling the students, you are not doing BEd. BEd is secondary. Primary is your arts. Primary is your science subject. This is happening, sir.
Definitely.
This is happening at present. Okay, this is my experience from Goa, I'm telling.
Yes, this is true. Whatever your suggestion is correct.
Dual degree. They should stop giving dual degrees, sir. Just like BTech, they get only 1 degree at the end of the year. Where they are offering 2 degrees, in case they are so serious about good quality of teachers, let them give only 1 degree BEd, BSc BEd. Okay, no one should be allowed to go to any kind of master degree. Let them go to only MEd. So that those who will be joining now, they should think seriously that I am for teacher education, I'll make my career in teacher education. Not they're putting their both the legs in two boards. In case that sinks, I'll go this side. In case that sinks, I'll go this side. Okay, this is my observation. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you for your observation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move towards the closing part. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Now we are moving to our next segment, vote of thanks. I invite Mrs. Sindhu Sara to deliver vote of thanks. Sindhu ma'am, please. Sindhu ma'am. Sindhu ma'am, are you there?
Yes. Thank you, Vinci. Let me move on to the vote of thanks. Respected Principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir. Our most valued presenter of the day, Dr. Pramod Dinakar. Research Coordinator, Dr. Joju John, sir. Research Guide, research scholars and students. First of all, let me thank Dr. Pramod Dinakar for his unparalleled talk on the opportunities and challenges of the 4-year integrated B.Ed program. Sir, your brilliant and detailed explanation of the important aspects of the molding of a teacher for the future generation in simple and clear language with a very clear presentation helped us to understand the various benefits and advantages of an integrated B.Ed program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I thank our principal, Benedict sir, for his unstinting support for the smooth conduct of this program. Joju sir, a special thanks to you, sir, for bringing in such brilliant personalities like Dr. Pramod sir, who have helped us to improve on ourselves as teachers. A special thanks to Anshi teacher for all the technical support that she has provided us with. Let me also take this opportunity to thank all the participants from across the country who have joined in and made this program a successful one. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Sara ma'am. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your presence and participation for making this session a successful one. Google Form link of e-certificate for e-certificate is posted in the chat box. Kindly save the link to fill the form. The program will be ended after the national anthem being played. Kindly stay tuned with us for the national anthem. Thanks again for joining us today. See you next Monday.
तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।